The cup slipped right out of my hand and shattered across the floor, cold coffee soaking through blueprints and drywall estimates I'd spent the last 4 nights working on. My phone buzzed again, still in my hand, a sixth fraud alert. The first 5 had already lit me up like a warning flare. $42,000 in charges, all in the last 24 hours. Ridge Pine Resort, VAIL, Colorado. A place where even a basic room costs more than I make in a week. I stared at the screen like it might change if I blinked hard enough. My chest went tight. Then it clicked. Derek. Last weekend, at our parents' house, he wouldn't shut up about finally landing real investors and heading to the mountains to lock it in. My sister Jenny giggled the whole time, bragging about spa treatments and her network. I'd tuned most of it out, should have paid attention. I swiped through the charges: steakhouse, ski rentals, spa packages, high-end boutique. One of them was for nearly $8,000. Executive suite upgrade? It was like watching a car crash in slow motion and realizing it was my car. Quick note: before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I called the credit card company and confirmed the worst. The card wasn't stolen. It had been used with the correct zip code and billing info. I hadn't lost it, I hadn't authorized it, but someone had been spending like it was monopoly money. My hands were shaking. I dried them on my jeans and called my parents' landline. Mom picked up after a few rings, cheerful like she didn't just burn through my life savings. "Oh, hi, honey, everything okay?" "Not really. Someone racked up over 40 grand on my card in VAIL. Any idea how that happened?" Silence. Then Dad's voice cut in from the background. "We told Derek he could use it. It's not a big deal, son." Not a big... Are you serious? Mom sighed, like I was the one being dramatic. "You've always had a knack for money. We figured you'd handle it better than us." My jaw clenched. I hung up without another word. The line went dead, but inside me, something snapped loud and clear. I grabbed a trash bag and started cleaning the soaked blueprints off the floor, one by one, wiping off smudged ink and ruined numbers, tossing the whole week into the can. Let them explain that to their investors. I dumped the trash bag in the office bin, locked up, and drove straight home. Barely even remembered the highway. By the time I pulled into the driveway, the porch lights were off and the house was quiet, but I was already boiling. This wasn't some random mistake. My own family handed Derek my card like it was a library book, just like they'd handed me every problem for the last 2 years. Back when Dad's plumbing business tanked and the bank sent a foreclosure notice, they called me first. Not to ask, just to inform me that we need you to co-sign so we don't lose the house. I didn't even think twice. I moved back into my old bedroom, signed the refinance papers as guarantor, and picked up the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries. And they spun it like we were pulling together as a family. But there was no we. There was just me. I stood in the kitchen and opened the banking app. My thumb hovered over the charges. Another stomach drop. Nearly $4,000 in groceries, Whole Foods, specialty shops, freaking caviar from someplace in Dallas I'd never even heard of. Then a $2,200 Nordstrom charge. What the hell? I opened Instagram. Jenny had posted a story last week, Self-Care Sunday. Smiling in a bathrobe, a shopping bag on the bed behind her, and a bottle of imported rose in her hand. I marched upstairs and knocked on my parents' bedroom door. It creaked open and Mom sat up in bed, book in her lap. Dad was already half asleep. "We need to talk, now." She blinked. "Liam, what's wrong?" I held up my phone. "Did you know Jenny and Derek just dropped 4 grand at Whole Foods on my card? Nordstrom, over $2,000? Dad scratched his chest. "It's probably for her work. You know she's always going to meetings." I laughed. "Meetings? She hasn't had a real job since college." Mom folded her arms. "She's working on her app. Derek's pitching to investors. They need to look the part. They've been leeching off me since I moved back in." "Oh, come on," she said. "You've always made more than all of us. You know you're better with money." That line hit me like a slap. I didn't answer. I walked out, past the framed family photos, down the hall that still had my name taped on the bedroom door from when I was 10. I shut it and locked it. Enough. I booted up my backup laptop and opened a spreadsheet. Started typing every charge I didn't recognize, every grocery run I didn't make, every vacation I never took. I searched emails, downloaded bank statements, combed through Venmo requests and old texts, gas money, groceries, spa visits, hotel rooms, electronics, Amazon orders, endless Starbucks runs. It just kept going. They weren't slipping. They weren't struggling. They were using me. There was no accident here. At 2 in the morning, I pulled a shoebox off the closet shelf and dumped it onto the bed. Old receipts, old bills, the original mortgage document they'd begged me to sign. I snapped photos of everything. My fingers moved fast, like muscle memory. Like I'd already made the decision, and my brain was just catching up. The noise must have woken someone, because Mom knocked on my door. "Honey, can we just talk in the morning?" I didn't answer. I clicked save on the spreadsheet and stared at the balance. 63,000 and some change. That's what I was down. And that didn't count the card Derek just maxed out in VAIL. I closed the laptop, shoved it under my bed, and grabbed my toolbox. If they wanted to act like everything belonged to the family, then fine. I was taking inventory. Every drill, every wrench, every charger, mine. They could keep the bathrobes and Nordstrom bags. The lock on the basement cabinet gave after one hard yank, and the drawer screeched open. I started flipping through folders, hunting for anything with my name on it. The clock on my phone read 5:20 when I finally crawled back upstairs. I hadn't slept. My hands were shaking from coffee and adrenaline. I started cleaning the kitchen just to do something that didn't involve rage. The sink was piled with dishes, wine glasses not mine. A bottle of imported gin sat half empty on the counter. I wiped it down, turned on a podcast, and tried to breathe. Then I noticed the red light blinking on the landline. 4 new voicemails. I grabbed the handset, hit play. The first one hit like a punch. Jenny's voice bright and careless. "Hey Mom, can you hand me the platinum card again before Ray changes the PIN? He's getting weird about it, huh? Don't tell him, okay?" She laughed like it was a game. I froze. Ray, that was me. Nobody else called me that except her and Derek when they were teasing me for being serious. The next message rolled in before I could stop it. The sound of clinking dishes and background chatter, hotel dining room noise. My stomach turned. My own mother, my sister. Not just using me, mocking me for caring. The third message was just static and a muffled "order whatever," probably Derek shouting from across the table. I stopped it halfway through and sat down at the kitchen table. My palms were sweating. This wasn't some misunderstanding. They weren't struggling or confused. They were exploiting me, on purpose. I grabbed my phone, backed up the voicemails to my cloud drive, then to a flash drive. Every sound, every word. I opened the spreadsheet I'd started last night and added a new tab, voicemail log. My heart pounded with each keystroke. I wasn't angry anymore. I was cold, focused. By the time sunlight started cutting through the blinds, I'd organized everything by date, account, and user. My savings looked like a crime scene. I heard movement upstairs, floorboards creaking, voices. Mom and Dad were up. Perfect. I walked into the living room, set my laptop on the coffee table, and hit the first voicemail on speaker. Jenny's laughter filled the room. Mom froze halfway to the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. Dad looked up from the paper. "What is this?" he asked. "Evidence," I said. Mom set the mug down slowly. "You shouldn't be recording private messages." "They were left on our house phone," I said, "which I pay for." Dad sighed. "You're taking this too far. It's family money. You've helped us before." I stepped closer. "Family money? That's what you're calling it now?" Mom crossed her arms. "You're acting like we're criminals." "You are," I said flatly. "You gave my card to Derek without asking. You used it to fund a vacation, and you laughed about it." Dad raised his hands like he was calming a dog. "Listen, Derek's an investor. It's temporary. He'll pay it back." "He won't, and you know it." Right then, Mom's phone started buzzing. She answered before I could stop her. Derek's voice came loud and clear through the speaker. "Hey, where's the room service guy? I ordered pancakes like 10 minutes ago." I leaned in. "Put it on mute." Mom shot me a look. "He's still there, Ray. Don't start." "Still there," I repeated. "At the resort, using my card." Dad reached for the phone, but I snatched it and hit the red button. "We're done here." I walked to the door, grabbed my jacket off the hook, and turned back once. Next time he wants a luxury suite, he can figure out how to pay for it himself. And before either of them could answer, I stepped out and left. I drove straight to the hardware store after slamming that door. Bought a heavy-duty lock, 2 flash drives, and a stack of manila folders. By the time I got home, the house felt quieter than usual. Too quiet. Mom and Dad must have been upstairs, pretending none of it happened. Fine. Let them hide. I had work to do. I headed to the garage and flicked on the light. The old metal filing cabinet sat in the corner, same place it always had, covered in dust and old paint cans. The drawer groaned when I yanked it open. Inside, tax records, invoices, random junk. Then one thick envelope, taped shut, with my name written in Dad's sloppy handwriting. I tore it open. The house deed. My name. Sole owner. For a second, I just stared at it, the words blurring. They'd needed me to sign to help them through the tax lien 2 years ago. I remember Dad saying it was just a formality, temporary for refinancing. He must have thought I forgot, or assumed I was too loyal to check. I folded the paper and slid it into my jacket pocket. My pulse slowed. Something shifted in my chest. Not panic. Control. Over the next week, I started moving quietly. I took every document with my name on it, insurance, mortgage, vehicle titles, and locked them in a fireproof box. That box went in my truck, under the passenger seat, right next to my socket set. Nobody but me touched it again. That night, I sat in my truck with the lockbox on the seat beside me, watching the house through the windshield. I wasn't paranoid anymore. I was prepared. The next day, I made an appointment with a financial advisor downtown. Older guy, gray suit, calm voice. I explained everything, joint accounts, cards, how my parents and sister kept charging things under my name. He listened without interrupting, then leaned back. "This is financial abuse," he said, "and it's escalating. You need to protect your assets immediately." Hearing those words out loud hit hard. It wasn't just family drama anymore, it was fraud. I spent the next 2 days recording everything. Phone calls, conversations, even little comments over breakfast. A mom telling Jenny, "Don't worry, he'll calm down." Dad muttering about transferring a few things. I logged it all in my notes app, time-stamped and backed up. Then one night, around 10, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message read, "If you want out, I've got work and space. No strings attached. Tina, Aunt Tina, technically my uncle's ex-wife. Lived down in Santa Fe. I hadn't seen her in 5 years, but she'd always treated me like family. She ran a small cafe and art shop. Her text felt like a lifeline. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "Might take you up on that." Her reply came quick. "Whenever you're ready, I'll clear a room." I slipped my phone into my pocket and looked at the house through the windshield again. Lights off, curtains drawn. Everything looked peaceful, like nothing was wrong. But I knew better. I turned the ignition key, engine rumbling to life. It was time to start planning my exit. A week later, she came back like she'd won something. Jenny strutted through the front door, wearing designer sunglasses and a white coat that still had the tag half tucked in. Derek followed behind her, tanned, grinning, talking about expanding connections. They didn't even glance my way. That evening, Mom poked her head into my room. "We're doing a family dinner tonight. Jenny's treating us." I almost laughed. With whose card? She ignored that and said, 6 o'clock. Don't be late." I showed up anyway, not for them, just to see how far this circus had gone. Jenny had set the table like she was hosting a fundraiser. Grocery bags still on the counter, labels from the same upscale store she'd charged on my account. Pasta, salad, cheap wine poured into crystal glasses. She stood at the head of the table, grinning like a queen. "Isn't this nice?" she said, spinning the bottle. "Feels good to celebrate after the stress we've all had." Dad raised his glass. "To family." I sat in the corner, chewing gum. I hadn't eaten since the night before. Watching them laugh over food I technically paid for made my stomach knot. Every swallow of their wine sounded like static in my ears. Halfway through dinner, Jenny tapped her fork on the glass. "Okay, announcement time. Derek and I are finally ready to launch our startup," Mom clapped. "That's wonderful, honey." Dad nodded proudly. "Told you things were turning around?" Jenny looked straight at me. "We'll need about 60 grand to get it off the ground. But once we're rolling, it'll pay back fast. You in, Ray?" I stared at her. "You're serious?" She tilted her head. "You've always believed in helping family." Derek chimed in, grinning. "Think of it as an investment." I stood up. "You already took your investment in VAIL." The air went still. Jenny blinked, then smirked. "You're still stuck on that?" You really hold grudges. Mom sighed, setting her fork down. Liam, don't start again. I'm not starting, I said. I'm finishing. I turned and walked out, leaving them mid-meal. Behind me, chairs scraped, whispers started. I didn't care. My jaw ached from clenching my teeth. The next morning, I unlocked my office door and froze. Drawers open, papers everywhere. My new laptop, gone, again. The metal lock plate hung twisted on the frame. She'd done it again. Or Derek. Didn't matter which. I sat in my chair, staring at the mess, feeling my pulse in my ears. My gut said they were digging for the paperwork, proof that the house was mine. At work later that day, I could barely hold a drill straight. My boss, Ron, walked over. You good, man? You look wrecked. I forced a smile. Just stress. Family stuff. He studied me for a second, but didn't push. Take a day if you need it. Can't, I said. Too much to do. I lasted another 3 hours before calling it quits. Drove home in silence, knuckles white on the steering wheel. The house was dark except for a light under my parents' door. I paused in the hallway, then slipped my phone out, hit record, and pressed it against the wall. Their voices came through muffled but clear enough. Mom, maybe we could borrow from his 401k, just temporarily. Dad, he'd never notice. We'll move it back once Derek's deal closes. Mom, he's been distant lately. You think he suspects something? Dad, doesn't matter. We raised him better than to turn on his family. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. I stopped recording and opened my laptop, logged into my accounts. Within 10 minutes, every dollar was transferred to a new bank, new password, new two-step verification. Then I sat back, exhaled once, and shut the computer. They thought I was naive, that I'd never draw the line. They were about to find out exactly how wrong they were. I waited until everyone was asleep before I did it. Pulled Jenny's old purse from the hall closet, same one she'd thrown across the kitchen months ago during some meltdown. Her expired credit card was still inside. Platinum, high limit, never paid off. I checked the number, ran it online. Still active. I opened a new browser tab and booked 3 one-way tickets to Santa Fe. No insurance, no return. I used her card for all of it. Next morning at breakfast, I laid it on thick. Been thinking we need a reset, I said, pouring coffee like nothing was off. A little getaway, just us. Mom looked up. Really? Now? Jenny's been stressed. Derek could use a break. You two could get some space. I've got some free time coming up. Dad squinted at me. You sure you can swing that? I smiled. Already booked it. They bought it without blinking. That's how easy it was. After they left the next morning, bags packed, laughing on the porch like we were a sitcom family, I waited 10 minutes, then made the call. Yeah, they're gone, I told the realtor. Put up the sign. He'd been chasing the house for years. Real estate guy from OKC. Every 6 months, like clockwork, he'd ask if I was ready to sell. This time, I called him, told him the house was back on the table. I'll wire the offer right now, he said. 1.4 million, no inspections. All cash. No contingencies? None. I hung up and called my lawyer. Tina's lawyer, technically. She was the one who'd helped set up her cafe down in Santa Fe, and I knew she didn't mess around. I found the deed, I told her. I'm the sole owner, thinking of selling. She didn't even hesitate. Do it. You've got full authority. Just make sure they're out of the house when it closes. They already are. That afternoon, I got to work. Packed every tool I owned. Every contract, invoice, receipt went into labeled folders. Every piece of evidence I'd gathered, printouts, recordings, bank statements, I made 3 copies. One for my glove box, one for my safe, and one for the lawyer. I changed every lock on the house, front, back, garage, even the shed. Switched the office keypad too. I had new keys made and cut the extras in half with bolt cutters, one by one. The next morning, I stood in the living room and looked around. Nothing left to argue about. No photos on the walls, no signs of who used to live here, just an empty house and clean floors. The "for sale" sign went up that afternoon. 3 days from now, they'd come back to a locked door, a sold home, and nothing left to leech from. Let them figure out their next move, without me. I pulled up in a beige rental, windows down, arm resting on the steering wheel. They were already on the lawn, Mom, Dad, Jenny, Derek, standing like they'd just witnessed a natural disaster. bags at their feet, faces frozen on the big white sold sign planted in the grass. I parked right in front of the driveway, popped the trunk, and stepped out. Dad started toward me first. "Liam, sweetheart, let's talk. This doesn't have to be dramatic." I opened the trunk, pulled out the folder, and laid it on the hood. Not dramatic, just business. Mom moved slower, clutching her purse like it might protect her. Her eyes were already glassy. "How could you do this to us?" Jenny wasn't crying. She was fuming. "You sold the house? You seriously? Our house?" I popped the folder open and started laying out documents. "The deed, my name, not yours. You needed me to save your ass from a tax lien, remember?" Dad tried his calm voice again. "We were going to work something out. You didn't even give us a chance." 2 years, I said. "That's more than a chance." Jenny stepped forward, voice rising. "You blindsided us, Liam. This is betrayal." I slid the flash drive across the hood. Recordings, calls, transactions, all of it logged. I've got backups. Mom broke then, tears streaking down her cheeks. "You blindsided your own mother, your family." "No," I said. "You did that when you gave Derek my card and laughed about it behind my back." They stared. I opened another folder, airline printouts and 2 job offers. "Here, one-way tickets to Santa Fe. Aunt Tina's expecting you. She's offering work and a place to stay. No strings, but you're not staying here." Jenny snatched the tickets and scanned them. "You used my card?" "Exactly," I said. "Now you know how it feels." Her face twisted. "You absolute piece of—" "Jenny," Dad barked, holding her arm. "Not now?" "Oh no, now is perfect," she snapped. "He used my identity for revenge. That's theft." I laughed once. "You want to call it that? Go ahead. Let's compare bank statements." Derek finally spoke up, voice low. "You're screwing over the whole family for what? Control?" "No," I said. "For freedom." They all started talking at once. Accusations, justifications, threats layered over each other. Jenny waving the tickets like they were fake. Mom crying harder now, saying I'd destroyed everything. Dad rubbing his forehead like the victim. Then the yelling shifted. Jenny turned on Derek. "You said he wouldn't do anything. You guaranteed it." Derek backed up. "Don't pin this on me. I told you we were pushing too hard." "Oh, now you get cautious?" she snapped. Mom jumped in. "Both of you shut up. We need to talk to a lawyer." "You want a lawyer?" I said. "Go for it. You'll find out real quick what you signed." Dad pointed at me. "This isn't over." "You're right," I said. "It's finally over." I turned, opened the car door, and slid into the seat without looking back. Behind me, the arguing got louder. Bags were getting kicked. Someone threw a folder to the ground. They could claw at each other all day. I was out. I rolled up the window, shifted into drive, and pulled away without another word. I passed the sold sign one last time in the rear view, then never looked back. That was a year ago. Now, I've got a small place near downtown Tulsa, 2-bedroom, concrete floors, tools where I want them, nobody touching my stuff but me, quiet, clean, mine. My contracting firm's got 5 guys on payroll, and we're booked 3 months out. Word travels fast when you do good work and keep your promises. I still wear the same boots, still eat lunch out of the same cooler I had when I was broke, but now I don't owe anyone anything. Tina's Cafe is holding steady down in Santa Fe. She turned the back room into a workshop and gave my dad a bench to build souvenir furniture for tourists. He stains the wood by hand and signs the bottoms like it's art. Jenny's bussing tables during the lunch rush. Mom works the register, smiling too wide, over-apologizing to strangers like she's trying to make up for something. I visit once a month, never stay long. I come in, eat Tina's biscuits, leave a tip, and drive home. Nobody pushes. They know better now. One Thursday, I get a package on my doorstep. Brown padded envelope. No return label, just my name in familiar handwriting. Inside, $3,000 in cash and a short letter folded in half. I'm paying back what I can. Tina made me realize a few things. Maybe we'll talk again someday. Until then, thanks for the reset. Jenny. No dramatic apology, no excuses, just that. I took the cash, logged it, and filed it away in my emergency fund. Right next to the rest of the stack, I keep for when life throws a punch. That weekend, one of my new hires, a kid named Russ, pulled me aside after lunch. "Hey boss, my truck's in the shop. Any way you can float me $2,000 till Friday?" I looked at him. Good kid, Hard worker. I nodded toward the office. We've got a process for that. Talk to RR. He blinked. You can't just... Nope, I said. Not anymore. He nodded and walked off. No hard feelings, no tension, just the way it should be. They taught me something, all of them. Family can take you under, but only if you let them. Boundaries saved my damn life. What would you have done if your own parents took your side for granted like this? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.